according to Boss Valtown. But he is from the Arlington and Slauson, which is known as the 60s territory. The Arlington gang was led by Big U's cousin.
Slauson, man. They used to have a Slauson swap meet, man. Back in the days, Uncle Ism used to partake in the Slauson swap meet, man, right there. Crenshaw and Slauson, man. They used to have the little lowriders out on Sunday. They say, I'm not affiliated, man. But I used to be moving and shaking around that La-La-Leezy. I used to be moving and shaking around that La-La-Leezy, man. Crenshaw and Slauson, man. They had the Yardbird. They had that Louisiana Yardbird right there, man. I used to go right there. I used to get the CDs from the bootleg joint. Then they had the whatever that restaurant behind there. They had the soul food. Y'all know what I'm talking about, man. Right, Crenshaw and Slauson, and they had the little mall right there, man. I used to take the game and then go shopping and whatnot, man. But let's continue with Bruce Rivers. Go on here, player.
Cousin Chili Capone, and as time went on, Arlington guys would call themselves Rolling 60s as they were from the same area. Now, here's the thing. The Big U and Chili did not start the gang, but they were like second generation. These are not people to mess with, and they all have, a teardrop, not necessarily a teardrop, but they have earned one anyway. You know what that means. And Big U, who's like their main guy, claims not to have any directly said he didn't directly join the 60s, but that the affiliation was a natural one, as he was an AG member, Arlington gang member, and he built his reputation on being an excellent fighter, learning martial arts, growing up, and possessing natural leadership skills. And when Chili Capone died, they all die young, right? He became the next leader of the AGs, or Arlington gang. And as the years went on, that just kind of morphed into the Rolling 60s. So they've indicted about 20 guys. I'm doing one right now where they've indicted well over 45 guys, and they're continuing to invite people. They're pulling people.
Now, I know a lot of people say, man, why you want to be in the gang? Why you? Hey, a lot of people didn't have their fathers in their lives. Their mothers were, on them drugs, crackheads, crack babies. We got a lot of crack going on. I might have to crack one of you soccer darkers if you don't hit the like button. Let me get Bruce Rivers together. Go ahead, Bruce. Bruce is giving up the game from a lawyer's perspective. He got the old school Rollo right there. Stop self-snitching. That's what's wrong with you. I thought y'all was gangsters, man. Oh, gangsters move in silence like lasagna, man. What's going on out here? We got all the gangsters podcasts. This is some trash.
Prison, who are serving 30-year sentence on a homicide to indict him on a murder case. So they never get out. I'm telling you, this is not, if you're sitting there thinking, hey, it's a cool idea to be in a gang, or if you're thinking, I have to do this, think again, because this is happening all over the country. It happened in Atlanta, and we know what happened there. The prosecutor fucked that case up royally, and Young Thug had just amazing lawyers, and they didn't give up, which is just amazing. As the crack epidemic came in, the focus shifted to getting money, which brought more enemies meant more firearms, and the gangs now had unlimited access. Big U would also rob dealers, and after attempting to rob an undercover officer who posed as a dealer, he was sent to prison for 23 years. Serving only 12 before.
Big U, you tried to rob an undercover officer that was posing as a dealer. Big U, man. What's wrong with you, player? Look at your campaign right now. Boy, you looking crazy as hell. Big U look like he just want to fight something, go crazy. A lot of people only had that warrior spirit, so they got to try to bully you. That's why they say the pen is mightier than the sword. That means your mind and your words have weapons. You say the right thing. No, I don't want to hear all that educated stuff. Pow! Just want to hit you upside the head. So that's why you have to use brute strength. When they can't whoop you with the mental game, they want to use their physical brute strength. But let's continue. That's why a lawyer is so cold. Bruce Rivers, speak on it, man.
Or going to prison. Big U managed to corrupt in 1990, who would go on to sign with Death Row Records after Big U went to prison. All these guys go to prison. You're in a gang, guess what? You're going to prison or you're going to die. One of the two. And it doesn't matter how long and usually it's either for large drug crimes, and now it's RICO, which they can take any little thing and say it was in furtherance of the conspiracy. So what's a conspiracy? You remember what we said. It's an agreement between two or more people and an act to do a criminal act, and then an act in furtherance of that conspiracy. They have a motto in the Rolling 60s, and the motto is, "You not 60s until you smoke one." You know what that means? To smoke on your ops. We talked about that. Imagine wanting to be part of an organization that has a motto basically saying,
you hear this boy, smoke on your ops. It's crazy how these snow people think of us in black culture.
You ain't a real one unless you backdoor and kill your brother. Example, what happened to Nipsey Hussle and, Sandman Niggas. The amount of fame and clout Nipsey brought to them only for a tweaked out J-Cat from his hood to kill him. Oh, that's from the Boy Mess, whoever that is. And some of this stuff is just put together by our...
Bruce Rivers, I'll let you get away with that niggas. You sound like Myron Gaines. A black man that don't like being black. Bruce Rivers, watch it. Blood in, blood out. La Costa Nostra. You sure you want to be in the gang, nephew? Or if you're in the gang, it's time to turn your life around, man. Go on and get you a little chassis and move somewhere, man. A little doodooms, a little snookums. And go on and sit down somewhere, man, and get you a CDL, man, truck driving license or something, a barber license, man. Go on ahead and get your HVAC. You understand me? And change your life, nephew. This ain't it. They got cameras everywhere. Bruce Rivers, go ahead, man.
Team here, and we're really trying to highlight, and what I'm trying to do is highlight the dangers of being in a gang and the dangers of not building a good life. It might seem like a good idea at the time because you might be intimidated, you might have this, you might have that, and you might not have a choice. You might think you don't have a choice. Find a mentor. If you're 10 years old, you got to have somebody that's a strong. If you're a 10-year-old,
Uncle Ism, I'm gonna be your mentor.
Black kid in the hood, in the inner city, if you're, whether it's Chicago, LA, Minneapolis, or New York, Detroit, Houston, Dallas, Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, there's over 50 unsolved homicides in the last 5 years.
Welcome to the Sir Ism Show.
But if you're a 10, 12, 13-year-old kid, find somebody close to you, that's not in the shit. That's not, somebody that's solid. Because there are men out there, just solid men. And gravitate towards them every day. Every day build with that. Listen to your mother. Listen to your auntie. Listen to your sisters. Because they're not in that shit.
No. Bruce Rivers. Check it out, homie. Nah, man. Sometimes you can't listen to your mama. I understand, but sometimes moms give bad advice. Especially auntie. Your auntie. They be around here talking crazy, Bruce Rivers. You ain't seen Tia Kemp? Auntie. She'll give you some bad advice, man. So we can't listen to everybody, man. We got to we'll cut the meat, spit out the bones, man. We sometimes they don't know what they're talking about. To a certain extent, they can train a young man, he's 10, 11, 12. Then he come into his own, man. He needs some manly advice. So wherever you at in the country, in the nation, let Uncle Wisdom be your spiritual advisor, man. Let one of your maybe one of your counselors at school. I would say a reverend, but they got Marvin Sapp asking for 40 grand. We ain't gonna talk about that sucker ducker. Maybe it's somebody, maybe on YouTube, but it's a lot of YouTube fakers and jakers. I can't really say. I think somebody more in your community. Look for a man that's relatively successful and ask him, hey, man, how did you do that? Maybe he owned a lawn service. Maybe he owned some houses. Maybe he's a construction. Maybe he owned a trucking business. Maybe he owned a tow service. Maybe he could be in the cybersecurity. Whatever he doing, if you take a liking to him, man, hey, how you do that? A football coach. Basketball. Somebody that's relatively successful that you could see yourself in them. Because a lot of these dudes on YouTube, man, they just be talking, man. They don't be about it in real life. Let's continue.
And if they are, make other plans. I hate to sound like an old fucking white dude who doesn't know what he's talking about, but I see this every day. I see the aftermath of this shit because I'm a criminal defense lawyer. So I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not just some, Mr. Rogers dude putting on his fucking sneakers and his cardigan, sitting by my fake train and, trying to talk about shit I don't know anything about. So let's watch the press conference. And this is what I want you guys to take note of. They're mining social media to get you indicted.
Proven otherwise. Let me talk a little bit about Mr. Henley and the street gang here. As I said, Mr. Henley is a widely known leader within the Rolling 60s. He rose to prominence in that gang decades ago, and he has since been a fixture on the internet, talk shows, and podcasts, all things that law enforcement have looked at closely as part of
Internet talk shows and podcasts. Are you serious? They be watching the Sir Ism show?
Welcome to the Sir Ism Show.
We appreciate that. We definitely appreciate that y'all watch me, man. Y'all need to. I'm trying to help you players. Go on here, Bruce Rivers.
part of this investigation.
Oh, gee, what did I tell you? He's on podcasts. He's, I like the fame. What did the mob fucking hate more than anything else? Notoriety, attention. They wanted everything quiet. Why do you think John Gotti, wound up where he was? Remember, he was the Dapper Don. It's no different than these guys. And why is that? They wanted it quiet because they didn't want to fucking make noise, because the empty barrel is the loudest one.
He has maintained the image.
See? Real gangsters move in silence. These new wave gangsters, man, stop looking up the Big U, Brick Brady, what Charleston White call him, Crip Cravey. He's a Crip, but he got Brick. Anyway, then Loose Lips Cannon. All of them about to be washed for clout. Sockadockas.
Of an entertainment industry entrepreneur running a music label, and of somebody who gives back to the community here in Los Angeles, funding a South LA-based charity, developing options, which purports to help at youth risk escape gang life and escape the perils of gangs in high crime areas.
Well, don't think for 1 minute that won't be part of the defense strategy.
The facts alleged in the complaint paint a very different picture. It is one of a murderer, a thief, a liar, and a cheat, and the criminals that enabled him. For example, Mr. Henley engaged in a murder of a musician signed to his label in 2021 and dumped the victim's body in Las Vegas off of the I-15 freeway. He then attempted to evade and obstruct the investigation into the murder, including ordering witnesses not to speak with law enforcement. Henley's criminal enterprise also engaged in other crimes, including transporting prostitutes across state lines, extorting strip clubs, marijuana dispensaries, and other businesses, and fraudulently applying for COVID loans.
So this sounds just like organized crime, does it not? That's how they're being treated.
In the form of a business relief loan. On that application, Mr. Henley falsely stated that his music label, Unique Music, operated at a $200,000 profit in 2019 and was entitled to government assistance, despite the reality that the company had operated at a loss and was ineligible for such relief. Finally, Mr. Henley is accused of embezzling.
Some of those document crimes are so easy to prove for the government, but the bigger picture is that they are part of an organization, and that is how the RICO part of it plays into it. And so it's an overt act in furtherance of a conspiracy.
Donations made by celebrities, professional athletes, and businesses to his charity, Developing Options, which, as I said, purports to give South LA at-risk youth alternatives to gang violence, drugs, and other criminal activities.
So if you have a charity like Donald Trump did and other people, you can't just take that money and use it for your own purposes. And you ever hear that?
Why every time on YouTube they always bring everything back to Donald Trump, man? What's going on? Bruce Rivers, talk about Big U, homie.
Show that Cars for Kids, 187, whatever the fuck that is. Remember that?
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids.
I mean, I think that is just a total scam.
It's not a scam. You give your car up and they give you no money. You write it off on your taxes. This is the American way. Malcolm X said you must have someone's blood to suck in a capitalistic society. All of these blood suckers and sucker duckers. Which one of you gonna be, nephew? It ain't gonna be easy. But that's why you here in the Macclesfield with Uncle Ism. Now hit the like button. Before you have no wisdom, before you have no knowledge, no game to edify a young woman's brain. And that's why you ain't getting chose. with your mouth closed. But right now we're talking about Big U and gang banging. Why is gang banging fly? Well, a lot of young players didn't grow up with a father. They had no one to turn to, so the gang was their only refuge. So let's not point our fingers at one person and have FOMO pointed back at us about Big U. But when you want to be claiming these gangs, now you got to pay some taxes, sucker. You want to go to church? You want to go to church with Marvin Sapp? You got to pay some taxes, sucker. 40 pants. So if you want to claim rolling 60s on hood, on 60s, Paru, pay up, sucker ducker. You want to get you one of these highfalutin women, pay up, sucker ducker. Everything nice comes with the price. You want to be part of the gang? Slime. There's slime. You might have to pay for it with your life. Nephew, if this ain't you, move forward. Roll with G.O.D. Be like, man, I don't roll with none of these suckers, Uncle Ism. I roll with G.O.D. Me and G.O.D. Everything got a rhyme, Uncle Ism? Damn right. They get a stain in your brain. The rhythm of life. The rhythm and the vibration. Reverberation. Rewind that. That was cold right there. That was cold. Nah, that one right there. That was icy. That was icy. The rhythm of life. Rhythm and vibration. You and your game, rhythm and vibration. You hitting right, man. You're in line with the universe, the universal God. You go outside, the sun hit the top of your head. That's how you knock a bad broad and start you a legacy. Else your legacy will be gang banging. I never seen nobody win at gang banging. Just like I never seen nobody win at being a gambler. Be a professional gambler. Not what? The casino, the house always win. The gang always win. They told Nipsey Hussle, no one is bigger than the gang. He pull up with all them gold chains and a bad R&B bitch. Big U was like, oh, no, man. I'm mad at that. Then we back to the light skin, dark skin thing. Colorism. Big U is a big sucker ducker. He got to use his brute strength. Nipsey used his style, his suaveness, his lyrical prowess. Well, you always got to rhyme. It just flows, nephew. I don't even try to do it.
I could be wrong, and that's just my opinion. I don't have anything to back it up, but it sounds like bullshit. I mean, they have, what do they have? They have got ads nationally, and you hear that ad all the time. Who believes that's just for kids? Nobody does. Stealing from their own charity to do whatever, and then, you know, doing other things that are supposedly for and all of a sudden you're looking at your credibility when you get on the stand. It doesn't fly.
Henley used this charity as a front. He used it to conceal.
Wait a minute, white boys. A lot of you people use stuff, charities and fronts, campaign contributions. Whew, look at Uncle Wisdom with the big words. Campaign. That ain't even a big word. I said it was. Hey, man, they're going to crucify you. So if you're in the street life, man, my pops used to always say, man, how you a lawyer and a good bail bondsman. But that's old game, man. Y'all got the new game, man. We didn't have to worry about the cameras and the different things they got. And y'all talking too much on podcasts. Real gangsters move in silence. Lasagna.
Conceal his fraudulent activities, his criminal enterprises activities from and evade detection from law enforcement. If convicted on the racketeering conspiracy, he and his co-conspirators face approximately a 20-year federal prison sentence. I want to thank our federal law enforcement partners, our state law enforcement partners who brought about the result here today. The Los Angeles Metropolitan Gang Task Force from the FBI is comprised of.
You see how fast this fool moving? He talking fast. If he could move that fast with his bitch, she wouldn't be looking for a black man.
FBI agents, LAPD officers, IRS criminal investigation, the U.S. Department of Justice Inspector General's office, Los Angeles Police Department, the North Las Vegas Police Department. This case is a great example of state and federal law enforcement working together to address harm from a criminal enterprise. I also want to thank our.
You hear all the organizations involved in this case? You get a lawyer involved. First of all, I guarantee you these guys don't have a lot of money. I mean, some might have a little bit of money, but certainly not anywhere near the resources that the federal government has. That's for damn sure. And not only that, you don't have the resources that all these different agencies have specializations within their own departments, like the IRS, like the Postal Service, like the Gang Strike Force, like the U.S. Attorney's Office and the District Attorney's Office. So if you look at Operation Drawdown, you've got 19 there. We're going to black out their names because I just don't think it's fair to plaster that shit all over the place.
But you plastering their face all over the place. And no one is a snowman. You got to know society is against you, nephew. So I know if you do got to join the gang, I know if you do got to hustle, you hustle to survive. You don't hustle because it's live and do it for clout. You always get caught up. You slide in the game and you slide out, nephew. The few that survived, one of the best that ever did it and got away with it. Or you perish like a solitary rat.
When you haven't been convicted of anything yet. But look at the people up there. You got the IRS, you got the LAPD, you got the U.S. Attorney's Office, you've got Department of Justice. You know, you've got all these different logos. Now, I'm going to read you from the indictment. In February 2021, FBI Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Gangs launched an investigation into Henley's criminal enterprise, the Big U Enterprise, and its association with the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips street gang, the Rolling 60s, which the Los Angeles Metro Task Force Against Violent Gangs, began investigating in August of 2020. The Big U Enterprise is a mafia-like organization that utilizes Henley's stature and long-standing association with the Rolling 60s and other street gangs to intimidate businesses and individuals in Los Angeles. The Big U Enterprise is led by Henley. You just heard about Henley. Henley is a self-admitted member and original gangster, or OG, of the Rolling 60s, a violent criminal street gang with associated sets in several other states. Henley is widely regarded as a leader within the Rolling 60s. Now, Eugene Henley, known as Big U, aka Unc, aka Draws, aka Hannibal, aka Hannibal Muhammad.
Wait a minute. I'm Unc. I don't want to hear about all his names. He ain't no real Unc. I'm a real Unc. I'm going to tell you the truth. All his name is soccer-darker names. Eugene Henley, all your names is soccer-darker name. You ain't no Unc. You popping and whacking nephews. You's a soccer-darker. I'm a real Unc. Soccer-darker. We're going to add him to the list. A.K.A. Uncle Ism with the wisdom. Now let's continue, Bruce Rivers. Don't be giving Eugene too much credit.
A.K.A. Anybody Killer, A.K.A. Dave Austin, A.K.A. Anyway, there's so many aliases, right? When they start reading that shit in open court, it doesn't look good for you. A.K.A. Bear Claw. For a violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 1962D, racketeering, influence, and corrupt organizations, conspiracies. And what they're doing now is they're treating them like organized crime. It makes it easier to prove and to get them off the street. And I guarantee you some of these guys are probably already in prison. How do they build a case like this? Well, how do you think? Two ways: snitching and self-snitching. So the sources to build the case include confidential human sources, surreptitious recordings, in other words, wiretapping, including Title III wiretap search.
My brother Booker, my brother T Book. Crime's gonna go on forever, brother. One of the greatest P's of all time. Filmo Slim. He said the box will be selling when cotton and corn won't. Okay? So it's always going to be crimes. There's always going to be somebody doing something around here, brother T Book. But you got to get in where you fit in. And hopefully you can, you know what I mean, take you a righteous path in life. And even then, you're going to do a little something on your taxes. You're going to try to slide out, slide in on a little bit of something here or there. Come on, nephew. Stop pointing your finger at everybody like you just straight by the book, man. You're a black man. You know you had to do a little twisting and popping. You got to twist and pop. Yeah, I made 200,000 last year, man. I'm going to write down I made 137. Come on, nephew. Knock it off. Come on.
The madness speak.
We black men, we need, they owe us reparations.
Warrants for social media, iCloud and Google accounts, financial records from both individuals and companies and organizations, toll records showing communications between conspirators, victims, and Big U Enterprise members and associates, cell site location information from numerous phones, including Henley's, Robin, well, these guys, City of Los Angeles records, public filings, and other publicly available information, and interviews of witnesses and victims. The investigation employed various additional investigative techniques, including surveillance, vehicle tracking, poll cameras, recording devices, interaction with confidential sources, and information gleaned.
So if you're in the streets, listen to all this, man. They got poll tracking. They putting devices on your car, air tags. Come on, nephew. You don't stand a chance.
Through undercover purchases of firearms and narcotics. So they're going to have video and audio of transactions. You know, oh, here's some guns. Guess what happens with a gun? With a 5-year mandatory minimum on top of whatever the underlying conviction is. It's called 924C. And the issue with this is this is going to be a document intensive case and a discovery intensive case. It's not going to just be talking, you know, it's not going to just be witnesses, but they're going to have plenty of those too. So just when you think your brother next to you is your friend, all of a sudden he shows up on the witness stand because he's fucked if he doesn't. So the United States District for the Central District of California authorized multiple Title III wire and electronic interception orders for telephones being used by certain subjects of the investigation, including Henley and some of these other guys. The court also authorized interception of audio and visual nonverbal conduct via closed circuit TV through installation of video and audio bugs in a location. So what does that tell you? I mean, remember what got John Gotti? There was a surreptitious recordings that they had the social club. Well, they went up above.
I just couldn't let him get away with that. Surreptitious. Let me write that down. Surreptitious. Go ahead, Bruce.
The social club that they had, and they were hanging out in this woman's apartment, and they put the recording devices in that apartment, and John Gotti is heard on the recording wanting to order a hit on somebody. So let me tell you something about the federal government. The federal government is patient, motivated, and competent. We're talking about, you know, probably a 5-year investigation.
Man, this is some of the best game I've heard in so long. This man said it will wait 5 years. Bruce Rivers, a lawyer, man. He been in the game a long time. Just his seasoning, man. Surreptitious. Super seat. Hey, man. He's got his old school Dirty Harry right there. That revolver. This is some great knowledge inventory, whether you in the streets or not. Hey, man, you got to be careful out here and know what you're doing, nephew. You really got to know what you're doing. Go ahead, Bruce Rivers.
No Jumper, which we were on No Jumper. I was on No Jumper a while back. They released a statement. In addition, to DJ Vlad also expressed shock at the allegations against Big U, which he denied.
Wait a minute, DJ Vlad and Adam 22? Culture vultures, nigger needers.
In fact, Vlad claimed that Henley alleged that he was never part of the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips gang at the center of the RICO case. He also suggested that snitches and the spread of incriminating evidence on social media is what possibly led to this. Not any specific media coverage. And here's the thing, the media doesn't cover this shit at all. I don't ever hear anything about this. All these statements line up with Adam 22's response to similar accusations claiming that No Jumper had nothing to do with the case. The outlet's name reportedly appeared various times in the indictment due to Brick Baby's previous work with them. So this is Adam 22. I'm not seeing anything that says anything. I'm not seeing anything that says anything about stuff he did in the last 2 years since he's been fucking with us. Adam 22 said of Brick Baby. I do employ people from the streets. People from the streets sometimes get caught up in federal RICO indictments or whatever the fuck this shit is. We're going to be documenting the whole thing, helping them along the way. Anybody acting like this is because of No Jumper. No Jumper is the antidote. So there you go with that. So what is the responsibility of media outlets when it comes to figures like Big U manufacturing an air of intimidation in the rolling 60s? If these media outlets employ people from the gangs that are at risk, well, what is the responsibility? I mean, one of the things, if somebody comes on your program and they release information, or if they have their own podcast, anything they say is fair game. It's statements of a party opponent. So it comes into evidence. And here's why it's important when you see the pervasive nature of what these guys are doing. They ran a thing called a check-in. And so, and this is in the indictment. Hanley and the Big U Enterprise are widely known for requiring what's called a check-in for out-of-town entertainers or gang members in Los Angeles. So if you have a big enough organization